There's that timeless saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's one of those bits of wisdom that just, it sticks with you, doesn't it?
It really
Because
does.
it speaks to something, well, fundamental. We've all been there, right? Where you feel like you've done everything right, provided the perfect conditions, the ideal opportunity, and still nothing happens. Why don't they drink?
What's so revealing about that proverb is, like you said, it's not just about simple stubbornness or even thirst, really.
Right.
It captures this core truth about human nature, It sheds light on these powerful, often invisible forces that dictate whether we actually embrace opportunities, even when they're, well, undeniably beneficial.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. Our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack that profound distinction, between simply providing opportunities and actually fostering the genuine desire, the willingness to act.
Yeah, that internal piece.
Exactly.
Right.
We're going to explore the hidden psychological, social, even biological reasons why someone might be standing right there at the water's edge, yet remain unwilling or, frankly, unable to take that crucial sip. Get ready to uncover some surprising truths about motivation and resistance.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's unpack this core idea first. When we talk about leading someone to water, we're essentially talking about creating the conditions for success, right? Removing barriers, making resources accessible.
Setting the stage.
Exactly. But the actual act of drinking, that has to come from within, from an individual's own internal motivation, or maybe recognizing their own need.
You've really hit on it. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this distinction becomes incredibly powerful. It highlights the inherent limits of external influence. You can provide all the tools, all the support, everything. But true, lasting change or engagement
Yeah.
that requires internal buy-in. It's fundamental.
Think about it in, real-world scenarios. Imagine a teacher. They present information perfectly, create this optimal learning environment.
Does everything right.
Right. They can lead students to water by organizing lessons well, providing resources.
Yeah.
But they can't force genuine understanding or, spark that curiosity in a student's mind.
Nope. Can't make them thirsty for knowledge, so to speak.
Or in a workplace setting.
Yeah.
A manager might offer great training opportunities, clear expectations. They're leading employees to the metaphorical water.
Absolutely. Laying it all out.
But that motivation, initiative, the actual decision to embrace growth,
Yeah.
that has to come from within each person. You can't mandate enthusiasm.
And this raises an important question, doesn't it? What does this mean for helping someone overcome a personal challenge?
Yeah.
You can offer advice, provide resources, be there for them. But ultimately, the person has to choose to take those difficult steps. The wisdom here, I think, teaches us patience and acceptance, maybe. It reminds us that sometimes our role is just to make opportunities available, make the water accessible.
And trust they'll act when they're ready.
When they are ready, yeah.
But what if someone is ready? Or, at least intellectually, they know they should be ready. Why do they still not drink? Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, this is the deeper layer.
It's rarely just simple stubbornness, is it? Often there are these complex, invisible barriers at play, psychological, social, emotional forces operating way beneath conscious awareness.
Indeed. And understanding these hidden barriers is crucial. It gives us so much more insight than just slapping a label like unmotivated on someone.
It's too simplistic.
It really is. These barriers highlight the deeper dynamics that actually prevent individuals from taking advantage of opportunities that are right there.
So let's start with our own minds then. Specifically, our brain's sophisticated filtering systems. They can actually, kind of inadvertently, prevent us from recognizing or accepting beneficial opportunities.
Okay, yeah. So first, maybe consider confirmation bias. Our minds aren't passive receivers, right?
No.
They actively seek out information that supports what we already believe, and they tend to dismiss contradictory evidence.
Without us even realizing it sometimes.
Exactly. So someone struggling with self-doubt, for instance, they might unconsciously reject positive feedback or shy away from opportunities for advancement because it just doesn't fit with their internal story.
It conflicts with that I'm not capable belief.
Precisely. Their brain just filters it out almost.
Then there's the sunk cost fallacy. This one's powerful. When you've invested so much time, energy, maybe your whole identity in a particular path,
Oh, yeah.
it's incredibly hard to even consider new opportunities if they mean abandoning that previous investment.
Yeah.
Imagine a professional, years in an unfulfilling career,
Right.
acknowledging a need for change, Feels like admitting all those years were a mistake, a waste. So they resist retraining, resist new directions. The cost feels too high.
And perhaps the most pervasive barrier is status quo bias. Our minds just inherently resist change. We prefer familiar patterns, even if those patterns are causing suffering.
Even if they're objectively bad for us.
Yeah. Familiarity feels safer, neurologically speaking. This explains why people often stay in unhealthy relationships or unfulfilling jobs or keep up destructive habits, even when there are clear paths to improvement right in front of them.
The known misery feels safer than the unknown alternative.
That's a good way to put it. The brain defaults to safe, which often means same.
Okay, so beyond our everyday biases, some of the most complex barriers, the really deep ones, stem from trauma, traumatic experiences.
Absolutely critical to understand this.
Trauma doesn't just affect how we feel, it fundamentally alters how our nervous system processes safety and threat. It changes the lens through which we see the world.
Right. So this raises the question, how does this actually manifest? Well, someone who experienced, say, betrayal in past relationships might find it neurologically difficult to trust new connections.
Even if those new connections are genuinely supportive.
Even then, their nervous system is basically stuck on high alert, anticipating danger based on past experiences, overriding that logical part that says, this person seems okay.
And childhood trauma. That can lead to what psychologists call learned helplessness.
Yeah, that's a profound one.
If young people repeatedly experience situations where their actions just don't lead to positive outcomes, they develop this deep belief that effort is futile.
It gets wired in.
So later in life, even with genuine opportunities for change, their nervous system might interpret these situations through that old lens of powerlessness. It just shuts down the impulse to try.
What's fascinating here and kind of heartbreaking is how complex trauma can even create what looks like self-sabotage.
Right. But it's not, really.
It's actually a protective mechanism. If someone's early experiences taught them that success leads to, say, increased expectations they couldn't meet, or criticism, or maybe even abandonment.
Like if they shone too brightly, something bad happened.
Exactly. Then they might unconsciously reject opportunities for achievement later on. Their protective system prefers the familiar struggle over the unknown dangers that success might bring. It's choosing the known pain.
Wow. Okay, moving beyond the individual. Society itself creates these powerful, yet often invisible rules. Rules about who deserve what opportunities.
Absolutely. Social conditioning.
And these messages get internalized. They become personal limitations, often without us even realizing where they came from.
Gender socialization gives us really clear examples, doesn't it? Women might resist leadership roles because of internalized messages about being too aggressive, or men might reject opportunities for emotional growth because it conflicts with those rigid ideas of masculinity.
Being stoic, not showing vulnerability.
Exactly. It's not about capability. It's about stepping outside the prescribed social box.
And class consciousness creates equally powerful barriers. Someone from, say, a working class background might unconsciously resist educational or professional opportunities.
Right.
Because they fear losing connection to their community or feeling like an outsider, like they don't belong in that new environment.
That ties into imposter syndrome too, doesn't it?
It really does. That feeling of being a fraud, despite success, it can be deeply tied to social class, where achieving beyond your roots feels like a kind of betrayal.
Yeah, betrayal of where you came from. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, cultural expectations around age, race, sexuality, they can all create similar invisible walls.
So a person might reject an opportunity, not because they lack desire, but because accepting it would mean challenging these deeply held beliefs about what people like them are supposed to do or achieve.
It risks their sense of identity, their sense of belonging.
Our earliest relationships also play a huge role, wouldn't you say? They create these unconscious templates, these blueprints.
Oh, massively. For how we approach opportunities, support, connection.
Throughout life. And these patterns, they often operate completely outside our conscious awareness. But they're incredibly powerful drivers.
They absolutely are. Take someone with an anxious attachment style, for example, formed in early childhood. They might reject opportunities that require independence because their nervous system interprets separation as potential abandonment. It feels viscerally unsafe.
And the opposite, avoidant attachment.
Right. Someone with avoidant attachment might resist opportunities involving collaboration or vulnerability. Why? Because their protective system learned early on that depending on others leads to disappointment or maybe feeling smothered. Independence feels safer.
So what this means then is that a person might intellectually know an opportunity is good for them,
Logically. Yeah.
but simultaneously feel this intense, visceral resistance they just can't explain.
That's it. Their attachment system, built on those early relational experiences, is essentially trying to protect them from perceived emotional dangers, even if those dangers aren't actually real in the present situation.
The body remembers, even if the mind doesn't consciously connect the dots.
The body keeps the score, as they say.
Okay, this next one is really counterintuitive. Some people resist opportunities precisely because they might lead to success.
Yeah, the fear of success. It's real.
It seems paradoxical.
It does. And it raises the question, why would anyone fear success? Well, it can stem from concerns about increased responsibility.
The pressure.
Exactly. Or worrying about outgrowing important relationships, leaving people behind, or just anxiety about maintaining those higher standards once you achieve them.
What if I can't keep it up?
Right. Some individuals unconsciously associate achievement with isolation. They believe it'll separate them from loved ones or make them targets for criticism, maybe envy.
And it gets even more complex, doesn't it, when success means exceeding your family's patterns or cultural expectations.
Oh, definitely. Achieving beyond your family of origin or your community's norms can feel like a profound betrayal, like you're abandoning your roots.
That creates this huge internal conflict.
Massive conflict. And it manifests as resistance to opportunities that look really appealing on the surface, torn between personal ambition and group loyalty.
So if we tie all these threads together, what's fascinating here is that resistance to change isn't some kind of character flaw. It's not just a lack of willpower.
No, not at all.
Modern neuroscience helps us understand it's actually a biological reality.
Precisely. Our brains are literally wired to prefer familiar patterns, even uncomfortable ones. Because from an evolutionary standpoint, familiarity equals safety. Predictability equals survival.
Okay.
So when someone stands at that metaphorical water's edge but doesn't drink, their nervous system might be flashing these huge unconscious danger signals about the unknown consequences of change.
Interpreting change itself as a threat.
Yes, a threat to their established, maybe imperfect, but known sense of security.
And that neurological reality, that explains why logical arguments or external pressure rarely create lasting change.
Exactly. Your thinking brain, your prefrontal cortex, might totally understand the benefits. Yes, this water is good for me. But if your emotional brain, your limbic system, your survival systems perceive a threat, maybe based on trauma, attachment, bias, whatever,
It slams on the brakes.
it overrides rational decision-making almost every time. It's survival first, logic second.
So sustainable change, genuine change, requires addressing these deeper neurological and emotional patterns.
Yes. It's not just about presenting better arguments or making the water look more appealing.
You have to make the pass to the water feel safe.
You absolutely do. It's about creating emotional and psychological safety alongside the opportunity itself. The water can be crystal clear, but if the horse feels unsafe approaching, it's just not going to drink.
So the next time you see someone seemingly unwilling to drink from the water you've led them to, remember, it's rarely about simple stubbornness.
Yeah.
Or just not being
It's
thirsty.
usually much deeper than that.
More often, it reflects this complex, often unconscious interplay of cognitive biases, maybe past traumas still echoing, societal conditioning, those early relationship patterns, or even paradoxically, a fear of the very success that awaits them.
And this understanding, it really transforms how we interpret that old proverb, doesn't it?
It really does.
It encourages patience, I think, compassion, and a real shift in focus. Our role isn't just providing opportunities, laying out the water.
No.
It's also about considering that internal landscape, the emotional, the psychological safety that's necessary for people to actually be able to take advantage of them.
Helping them feel safe enough to approach the water in the first place.
Precisely.
And this raises, I think, an important question for you, our listener. Knowing what you now know about all these invisible barriers, how might you approach offering opportunities differently, either to others or maybe even, importantly, to yourself?
That self-reflection is key.
What new safety nets, maybe internal ones, might you consider putting in place? What old fears might you gently acknowledge to truly help yourself or those around you feel safe enough to take that vital, maybe life-changing sip